Good day, grade 9. I am Miss Sherlyn A. Villanueva, and in this video, I'll be discussing the first lesson we have for this grading, which is solving quadratic equation. Let's start.
Let us define first quadratic equation. A quadratic equation in one variable is an equation that can be written in the standard form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, where a is the numerical coefficient of x squared, b numerical coefficient of x, and c constant. With the following conditions: first, A, B, and C are real numbers. So, ibig sabihin, kahit anong number pwedeng maging values ni A, B, and C provided that they are not imaginary. Dapat real numbers lang. Next condition, A should not be equal to 0. So, again, A is the numerical coefficient of our x squared. Si A, hindi siya dapat magsi-0. Kasi kung mangyayari yon, this equation is no longer a quadratic equation. Linear equation na siya. Because, always remember that a quadratic equation is a polynomial of degree 2 or second degree. So, ibig sabihin, ang highest degree niya or yung highest exponent na meron si quadratic equation is 2. Okay, take note of that. Now, let us have these equations and determine whether they are quadratic or not. First, we have x squared plus 3x plus 5 equals 0. So, for us to easily determine if it is quadratic or not, let us know the values of a, b, and c. So, a, it is obvious that this is 1, b, 3, the numerical coefficient of x, and our constant is 5. So, meaning, this equation is a quadratic equation. Next, we have 4x times quantity x minus 2 equals 0. So, kapag ganito yung case, ang gagawin natin, simplify muna natin siya. So, we have 4x times x, we have 4x squared, and 4x times negative 2, we have negative 8x equals 0. Now, let us determine the values of a, b, and c. For our a, we have 4, b, negative 8, and our constant is 0. Walang value si c, so 0 siya. Again, this equation is a quadratic equation. Since present naman yung a natin dito. Next, example, we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 minus 2x squared equals 0. Again, simplify muna natin siya. Makakancel natin si 2x squared dito kasi may negative 2x squared dito. So, we have 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0. So, we will be having negative 3x plus 1 equals 0. So, this time, our a is 0, our b is negative 3, and our c is 1. Obviously, this is not a quadratic equation since a is 0. Always remember, quadratic equation, dapat a is not equal to 0. Next, we have x squared equals 2. So, this equation can be written in x squared minus 2 equals 0. So, this time, our a is 1, our b is 0, and our c is negative 2. So, again, this is a quadratic equation since may value naman tayo ng a dito. Last example, we have x raised to 4 minus 2x plus 5 equals 0. Obviously, this is not a quadratic equation since ang highest exponent na meron dito ay 4. Always remember, kapag quadratic equation, highest exponent dapat ng equation is 2. Okay? So, it is important to write the equation in standard form or simplify the equation by combining like terms before deciding whether a given equation is quadratic or not. Now, let's move on in solving quadratic equation. The solutions of a quadratic equation are called the roots or zeros of the related quadratic equation. These are the values of x that will satisfy the given quadratic equation. So, ibig sabihin, para ma-check natin kung tama yung nakuha nating roots or zeros, pwede nating isubstitute yung values ng x na nakuha natin. And they should satisfy the given quadratic equation. The solutions of a quadratic equation can be solved algebraically by A. Extracting the square roots, B. Factoring, C, completing the square, and last one we have using the quadratic formula. So this time, magpo-focus muna tayo sa first method, which is extracting the square roots. The method of extracting the square roots is used when the linear term of a quadratic equation is 0. Remember, our standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. And our linear term here is this middle term. Kung mawawala yung middle term natin, we will be having ax squared plus c equals 0 or ax squared equals c. And when our quadratic equation is in this form, we will be using extracting the square roots in solving the roots of that equation. Solving a quadratic equation by extraction of roots is different from evaluating the square root of a number. Applying the square root property in a given quadratic equation implies that there are two solutions in the equation, the positive and negative roots. If the quadratic equation is in the form x squared equals c, remember that c should be a non-negative real number. Take note of that. Okay, again we have x squared equals c. In solving quadratic equation, our goal is to find the values of x. So in this case, to easily find the values of x, we should eliminate the exponent 2. And for us to do that, we have to take the square root of both sides. So we have a square root of x squared. Cancel this out. Radical sign and exponent 2. We will be having x is equal to square root of c. Do not forget positive and negative. Meaning, if our quadratic equation is in the form x squared equals c, the roots of that equation are positive and negative square root of c. Okay, let's have some examples. First, x squared equals 9 equals 0. Again, first step natin is to transform this equation in x squared equals c in this form. In this equation, ours is negative 9, so we will be transposing negative 9 on the right side. We will be having x squared is equal to positive 9. Then, take the square root of both sides. We have square root of x squared, which is simply x is equal to positive and negative square root of 9. Then, simplify. We have x is equal to square root of 9. We have positive and negative 3. Meaning, the roots of the equation are 3 and negative 3. So, for us to check our answer, substitution yung gagawin natin. 3 should satisfy this given equation. Let us try. If x is 3, we have 3 squared minus 9 equals 0. 3 squared is 9 minus 9 equals 0. And 9 minus 9 is 0. 0 is yes, equal to 0. Correct. Next, what if x is negative 3? We have negative 3 squared minus 9 equals 0. Negative 3 squared is 9 minus 9 equals 0. And 9 minus 9 is 0, which is also correct. Next example, we have m squared plus 16 equals 0. Again, transform natin siya in the form x squared equals c. So, lipat natin sa 16 sa right side. We will be having m squared equals negative 16. Then, take the square root of both sides. We have square root of m squared is equal to the square root of negative 16. But, remember, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, c should be a non-negative real number. But it is obvious that negative 16 is a negative number, meaning the equation has no real solutions or roots. Take note of that. Next example, we have 3m squared minus 18 equals 0. Transpose negative 18, we will be having 3m squared equals positive 18. And to eliminate the numerical coefficient of m squared here, divide both sides by positive 3. So we have 3m squared divided by 3 is simply m squared is equal to 18 divided by 3 is 6. Then, take the square root of both sides. Square root of m squared, we have m is equal to positive and negative square root of 6. Therefore, the roots of the equation are positive square root of 6 and negative square root of 6. Next example, we have quantity x minus 2 squared minus 64 equals 0. So first step, transform it in x squared equals c form. So we have quantity x minus 2 squared is equal to 64. Then, take the square root of both sides. So makakancel ang radical sign at ating exponent. We have now x minus 2 is equal to square root of 64. We have positive and negative 8. Then to find the values of x, transpose negative 2 on the right side. We will be having x is equal to positive and negative 8 plus 2. Okay, we have now x is equal to positive and negative 8 plus 2 to find x. First one, if 8 is positive, so we have x is equal to positive 8 plus 2. And the second one, if 8 is negative, so we have x is equal to negative 8 plus 2. Then simplify. 8 plus 2 is simply 10, and negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Therefore, the roots of the equation are 10 and negative 6. Again, we may check our answer kung tama by substitution. If x is 10, we have, and if x is negative 6. So, if x is 10, we have this. We have quantity 10 minus 2 squared minus 64 is equal to 0. 10 minus 2 is 8. And 8 squared is 64. 64 minus 64 is 0. Correct? How about this one? If x is negative 6, we have quantity negative 6 minus 2 squared minus 64 equals 0. Negative 6 minus 2 is negative 8. And negative 8 squared is 64. 64 minus 64 is also equal to 0.